Just a friendly reminder that the opinions expressed on this show are not worth a Canadian penny, so disregard anything you hear that might get anyone in trouble. And despite some of the great ideas you may hear, don't try them at home. Go to a friend's house instead.
It's time to get a gun. That's what I've been thinking. Well, I could afford one. And if I did just a little less drinking, time to put something between me and the sun. When the talking is over, it's time to get a gun.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Slamfire Radio. This is episode 360 for June 25th, 2020. I'm one of your hosts, Adriel.
I am Random Dave, another one of your hosts, and only the two of us tonight.
The other hosts were COVID. They got the Rona.
Pretty sure they got the Rona, yeah, from that French kissing expedition out to I don't know, France.
So, question, Dave, how many times have you thought you've had the Rona so far? 0? Oh, I've had like 2 times where like, oh man, I got the sniffles, my throat's sore, maybe it's the Rona. And it's been nothing. It's been nothing both
Great.
times.
like going to medical school and suddenly have a brain tumor every week.
It's not a tumor.
Not a tumor, you're fine. Might be a tumor.
No, it's...
Yeah, no corona here. I've been keeping well away from people, and at work when I'm near people, I've been wearing a mask. So
I've been distanced enough, but it's like you still get that like doubt, that little scratching in the back of your head. Maybe it's the Rona. Maybe it's the Rona.
No, so far no coronavirus or beer.
So far no corona.
We've been good here. There's hasn't been that many. It's like 500 or something in my county, which is like freaking huge. So,
Yeah.
If people wash their hands more and stay away from other human beings, it's probably not a bad idea to do anyway. Then you'd probably be okay.
Yeah. Cool.
Yep.
Why don't we get into what we did in guns? What we did in guns this week is brought to you by the Calgary Shooting Centre, Canada's premier firearms retailer. Right now they have the Chris Vector Gen 2 in 45 ACP and 10 millimeter. So if you want to go deer hunting, I guess, with the 10 millimeter.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Black gun deer hunting.
Deer,
yeah. And you got to get the level shooting with when you're deer hunting. So that's what the Chris Vector is perfect for, because it's got that V recoil system. Have you ever taken one of those things apart?
I watched a couple of videos of them. It's
crazy. The bolt
like
has this little angle thing that follows this rail that goes down in the V in front of it, so it recoils and goes down, so it keeps level when you're shooting, which would be really cool if you're a full auto. Here in Canada, when we've got like 5-10 round mags kind of a thing, and it's only semi-automatic, it's less useful. But I suppose if you were hunting deer with one of these things in 10 millimeter, you could just pump it. If it was really close, just follow-up shot after follow-up shot. Completely unnecessary, all of them.
Hopefully you only need the one and maybe one follow-up. But
this is not a hunting show. All of our opinions are for entertainment purposes only.
Please don't light deer up.
Don't light the deer
right at you.
So. If they're coming right at you, I would want a Vector CRB, which Calgary Shooting Center has for $2,249. Dave, have you done anything in guns this week?
I have done very little with guns other than cleaned a gun, and that's about all I did. I fondled all my pistols and sorted ammo and talked about guns a lot with people, but I have not actually gone shooting or done anything of significance. How about you? What have you done, Adriel?
Let's see. I got out to 2 maple seeds in one weekend. That was last weekend. And
there you go.
That was a lot of I thought of it as like, I've done this before. I've had like two in a row like that, and it hasn't been that bad. But I was tired after running those 2. I think it's just it's been so long, right? It's been since September, October last year, and now finally getting back into the swing of things. And boy, it's been a while, but it was good. They're both of them were really good. They were just in Edmonton, local here. Nice. Had some really good shooters out too. A lot of people that put up some really good scores, and all really safe, all really nice. A lot of IITs out there as well. A lot of the assistant trainers. So I felt really
Nice.
well supported. Almost spoiled. I would say spoiled because of how much help I had on hand, and it makes it a lot easier to run one of those things when you have a bunch of people who know what they're doing, can execute on what they need to do, and are there to help out the students. So, that was
It
all.
makes things a lot smoother when everybody knows. Everybody's got their shoes tied and they know what they're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
How many shooters did you have, and how are you working out the social distancing for the Maple Seeds?
We're just running like very wide shooting lines. So I've got a spreadsheet that like calculates out how much frontage I need for how many shooters, and we just use that to make sure that we don't get over the 2 meters. Like, one thing that kind of throws a wrench in there is if we get family groups together, I can put them as close as I want to, right? If father and son, or a father and daughter, something like that, show up, so, or a husband and wife kind of a thing, so they can be closer, but everyone else needs 2 meters. So I just went on the assumption of 2 meters for everyone and just call it a day, kind of a thing, right? And then the other thing we've been doing is just restricting age limits as well, and who can go, just because we can't be like right on top of someone, so we couldn't have like a really young child or something like that on the line.
Gotcha.
Which the tough part is, like, some kids are like super safe and would be fine at a young age, but some aren't. So there's really nothing you can do there other than, like, because you can't measure or have like a fair way of measuring how safe they are. So we just used it. We had to use just like an age limit. But no, both events were really good. The weather was fantastic for both of them. And I got home on the Sunday, and I went for a nap at 6, and I woke up at 8 a.m. the next morning. So I was a little bit tired. I think that's just because I haven't, like, it's been so long before I've done like real work, where it's like 2 days of like doing stuff in a row in the heat. And
I was thinking the other day that I gotta get out and get in better shape, because I was doing some stuff in the yard, and I'm like, I am gonna frickin' die on the range if I am out there all day. I gotta start running and lifting weights and just get out and walking every day, because it's gonna frickin' kill me when we get out doing service rifle. It's
getting
like
the
10
steps
hours
in. Have you ever run like one of those step things where I think I've got one around here somewhere. One of the guys had one, and he said he put on 7,000 steps, which is like three times like what a normal day would be. And I've done that at 3-gun before, where it's like I've done 12,000 steps in a day if you really move around, and that is for someone who doesn't do a lot, for people who are like staying home and working from home and not going on like death marches every day. That's a lot to all of a sudden expose your body to.
Yep, we had one of the guys bring one of those Fitbits out to a service rifle match, and when we're doing service rifle, you're walking 100, 200, 300, 400, 500 meters a lot, and then you're down flat, and then you're back up in the firing line, and then you're doing your rundowns, and sometimes you're taking your kit back and coming back up for lunch sometimes, and he got his 10,000 steps in pretty easily.
You rack those up. But they went really well, so I'm really pumped. We've got a bunch of instructors here that are helping to support us in our local area, and I'm really looking forward to it. So I've been planning out some more, because we got delayed, right? We're supposed to start in March. I'm kind of glad we didn't start in March, because that weekend was going to be nasty. Other than the Rona, it was a nasty weekend. And then
we had some stuff planned earlier in the year too, and I couldn't make it to the match in March for CQB, which I'm kicking myself now, because that was our last one for the moment. But there were a few days I looked out the window, and I'm like, kind of glad I'm not out on the range today. It's okay when you're shooting, or you're standing around watching people shoot. It gets damn cold.
But so I'm planning out some more to kind of cram some more into the season we have left, and should be doing 2 or 3 per month until hunting season, really. So
nice.
Yeah. And then the other thing I did is kind of gun related. I think it's gun related. I got this green screen. So right now it's just like a regular one. I need to light it properly. I got like a window open, so it's like not really lit properly. But I'm gonna use this for gun videos so that I can do the talking head on top of like gun, like close-ups of the gun, move it around and be like, "This is butt stock, blah blah blah," and I could just be like little Adriel in the bottom right corner over here, just talking and oh, over here, that kind of thing. And I mean, the other nice thing is that it's slick for doing backgrounds on Zoom. So
Yeah, I was doing a weird thing. I think it was when your lighting was changing in the lower right corner. All of a sudden, I'd see the green start to come up.
if I
And
turn like
away.
this,
It's not bad.
my camera just doesn't know what to do with it now.
Yeah, it's pretty good when you're holding together. I notice when I'm using a background in Zoom, particularly the area between my head and my earphones goes all weird all the time.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do with that. So the green screen is looking pretty good.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe I'll use it on my gun reviews and that kind of stuff too. Other than that, nothing really. I think I'm gonna hit the range this weekend because I got to get that Winchester Wildcat out, and I want to get out with my oldest.
Break it.
What's that?
Get it out and break it.
Maybe. Yeah. The stuff I saw online about it seemed to indicate the accuracy was right around an inch at 50 yards. So I'm gonna see if it's there or if it's a little bit better. Like that's not anything special. A lot of people say like, oh, my 22 does half an inch at 50 yards, and I would say that most don't. Most of them don't do a half inch at 50 yards consistently. Like you couldn't take a 5-spot a piece of paper and put 5 rounds into half inch all on the same paper.
Yeah.
But
well, that's not how it works. You fire 25 rounds and then you draw a circle around the 5 that are closest, then say that's your group.
You shoot 10 3-round groups and you circle the best one. And you're like, that one, that's what the rifle can do. All these other ones, I pulled that one, or I fly landed on the paper and I thought that was the hole, or I don't know.
I used to have a guy I used to shoot with, and he would mock people who would say that, oh, my gun does X. He'd take them out to the range and go, okay, so here's your target, put 50 rounds into it, and let's see how you do. Gun shoots half inch, let's see you do it.
Yeah. One of the other things I'm kind of curious about that I wonder if it works with this Winchester. It probably would because it uses the same 10-22 mags. The Spectre Ballistics mag adapter for the 5.97. I bet you that would work in there. And they started making aluminum ones. They started with like these 3D printed ones, which were all right by themselves. But I believe they have an aluminum one now. And
Chris just said he picked up one of the first 3D gen, and then Kurt, and then Chris commented he picked up the aluminum one. How is it, Chris?
Ooh, yeah. I want one of those. I know that there's a 5.97 mag that works well, and there's one that doesn't work well, and one of them's clear and one of them's black. I think the black one works better. I can't remember though. Anyways, yeah, I want to try one of those because more bullets. Mm-hmm.
More bullets.
Mm-hmm.
Bullets, good.
I mean, Chris and Kurt might be looking at those because our local 3-gun club has started to have a pea shooter division where you can use 22 LR. Because a lot of guys, like, they might have had 1 or 2 ARs for 3-gun, and now they don't. So we have a 22 division that they can use now as well.
Oh, that's cool. And you can shoot that anywhere too. So
I mean, like, it was primarily just because like we have so many people who like they like 3-gun is their thing, and if they pick up another semi-auto non-restricted 223 right now, how long before it gets banned?
Yeah,
it's really not predictable. So it's hard to ask people, well, go get an ACR. What happens if the ACR is like? What happens if the RCMP decide that the ACR is an AR-15 variant? There's another $3,000 out the window, right? Yeah.
And that's the problem that I've run into is I've still got my Tavor, which I sold in April. If anyone from the RCMP is listening, but
I think the bullpups are going to be safe for now. I think you're safe for like another 2 to 4 years at least.
Which is hilarious because the antis have like a huge hard-on for bullpups. They hate them because they're all space gunny and assaulty.
Compact.
But you can't say that's an AR-15.
Nope.
It ain't an AR-15. Like, it's, well, mind you, that Typhoon isn't an AR-15 either. But I mean, this doesn't even look like an AR-15. So ironically enough, yeah, I think that I'll be
The
good for
horse
a
is
bit.
safe. Yep.
Yeah,
But
be good.
try shooting like I don't know if you've run into one of those before. Have you ever run into the barricade that has all the little slots that are cut into it at weird angles? Trying to run one of those with a Tavor is an exercise in futility because the slots aren't big enough for you to stick the barrel and get your scope through.
Yeah. And I can't shoot it left-handed. And I can't shoot
Well, you
it.
can. It just hurts.
I know. Yeah. I know.
Get brass in the
Be very much
face.
hurt. I know a bunch of people who do a few people who run Tavors for CQB, and when you're down on the ground, you're shooting modified prone, and the ejection port's right there. It's very unpleasant. So
It's pretty
not the
unpleasant with an
optimal
AR too. You get a lot of
Not that
spray. I got a big break on mine. I tried shooting my 12-inch from modified from like Urban Prone, and the spray off of it was nuts. Even my 16-inch, the spray is nuts off of it.
Was it dry or wet out?
I don't think it matters. Like it'll shred whatever's like in front of you where that break is going to be.
I like guys shooting them in the mud, and then their optic is just coated with dirt, and they can't see anything. It's like, I shouldn't have that big break on your gun.
I got a picture of my red dot that I gotta send to you where it is like caked. I was still using it, but it's like you can actually use a red dot with the front fully caked in mud as long as you keep both eyes open. You just keep both eyes open, you see that dot, and your other eye will see through and see whatever you're aiming at, and it kind of works. Except at long distance. It doesn't work for me. Maybe it works for other people, but if I do the 2-eye thing with no front cover on the red dot, it doesn't work.
Okay, that's kind of cool.
Where were we? We were talking about green screens, and we got way off topic here.
We were talking about what we did this week in guns.
Yeah. I got to get to the range. Yes.
Yeah.
I got to get to the range. Shoot that wildcat. Get my boy out there so he can shoot his 243 and get practice with that because this is his year. This is his first year. He can get out and do a deer.
That's awesome.
There's like a special youth license that you can get and whatnot. So yeah, gotta get some practice in. Maybe do some maple seed reps with him. So he's got that sling use and he's got that confidence in making hits. Yeah. Why don't we get on to upcoming events? So our upcoming events is sponsored by Telos Alpha. Telos Alpha is a Canadian digital agency that works exclusively in the firearms vertical. They help with business processes, strategic planning, websites, e-commerce, and battling the stigma the industry carries with banks, merchant processors, and social media. Learn more at telosalpha.com. Our first event is the 5th annual Ronnie DeGroot Memorial Steel Challenge. This will be on July 4th. USPSA Steel Challenge, rules and stages, 7 stages, 7 squads of 10, cost is $25, and you can find it on Practice Score. News. Did you get a chance to watch any of that debate that Tracy had with the lady from New Zealand?
I didn't yet, but I did greatly enjoy the fact that the Poly-Souvian people tweeted it, and they're like, "It's nice to see science-based and fact-based approaches fight those evil, no-good gun owners." I'm like, even without watching it, I know that was bullshit.
Yeah, it was. I mean, the other thing that the debates company that put this on did. That was kind of interesting was they actually mentioned, we tried to get someone from Canada to do this with the Canadian, with Tracy, and they all declined or just ignored us. They were too scared. Let's put it clearly. They did not want to debate.
And what's the point? They're winning right now at the moment. They've won what they wanted. So what do they have to do?
They want more. They want more. They wanted all the semi-autos, and then all the handguns, and then all the pump guns, and then bolt guns. Just keep picking away. Yeah. So I think they are. I don't know. Yeah, they're going to keep picking at it. But yeah, she did debate someone from New Zealand. It is on YouTube, and it is somewhat enjoyable. Get like jump about midway through, and it's a pretty interesting listen. I mean, there's been a lot of gun stuff online recently here as well. Colia Noir just popped in on the Joe Rogan podcast. That was I listened to that one. That was very interesting as well. And
I like him. He's very well spoken.
Yeah, he's well spoken. He has a very practical approach to things as well. He's not a zealot. I think that when you have zealots from both sides talking about something, it's not a super constructive conversation. When you have more practical people, it's just easier to listen to, and it's more applicable to real life.
Well, that's what's going to get the public too. If you've got zealots, then yeah, I don't bother listening. I just tune people like that out. I don't care.
In terms of new gun stuff, Profit River is going to do another open box sale on Vortex. So if you're looking for Vortex optics, we've talked about this a couple times in the past. Profit River does this thing where they sell these open box and demo units at pretty impressive prices. Like Vortex's stuff is map priced, which means that you get the same price regardless of the store, except for these, because these are all demo box demo or open box. I mean, like, that's still a lifetime warranty, so if it breaks, like, you still send it back and get a new one. And the prices are, I don't know, on average half, like right around what would you say, 60% or 50%, somewhere around there. Yep. So go to CGN, check out the thread on Profit River. They said it was going to start in about a week, which is about now. Yeah, about now. Maybe these are all sold. Oh, am I too late on this? There's still a handful of orders unpaid. Feel free to call anytime. Okay, so call them and see if there's anything left. Yeah.
I don't know if they've been updating this or not.
Yeah,
Have they been updating their stock on their thread?
I might have been too late, but yeah, that's a good one. Next, Western Metal has a bunch of new and once fired brass. So if you're looking for some reloading brass, check them out. And then lastly, if you're looking for the CSA VZ61 Combat Scorpion, which is the old cool looking Scorpion. What was it on GoldenEye? The Kolb? That's what the Kolb was, right? Scorpions?
Yeah, I don't remember. They're in a lot of movies.
Yeah. Anyways, if you want one of those in 22, Solely Outdoors has them. I'm pretty sure they're restricted because it's like a small folding stock 22 pistol. Go check those out at Solely Outdoors. And they have those for $800. What was the price? $839.
Yep.
Which are kind of neat if you want to shoot something in 22.
And they're fun. That'll catch some attention at the range.
Oh, you're posting these on the Facebook group? I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always do that.
That's useful. That makes it so that people can just check it out. I don't have to share it on the thing. Oh.
Imagine that. Make things easy for people.
Amazing.
Oh.
Yeah. Why don't we get on to the main topic?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Slamfire Radio. Tonight, our guest is Craig Coleman. Craig is a 20-year officer with Toronto Police Services. He's a competition shooter, one of the nicest and most interesting people I've ever met, and a complete smartass, which is probably why I'm saying that and why we get along so well. So welcome to Slamfire Radio, Craig.
Thank you for having me. Thanks, Dave.
Yeah, so you wanted to get on. You wanted to talk a little bit about the gun ban, and how is it affecting you?
Yeah, what competitions do you partake in? Are you like an IPSC shooter, service rifle?
So I'll preface it by saying, years ago, I got into a jackpot, and through that jackpot, I mean, it's public record and stuff like that as well. It's nothing where I got in trouble or anything like that, but it's something where myself and my partner had to engage some people, and we were outnumbered 2 to 6, and firearms were involved as well as the discharge of those firearms. And all the bad guys were caught and stuff like that as well. So I found out afterwards, when I decompressed from it all, I'm like, well, you know what? I think I can do better at this. And there's got to be something out there where I can do some training and I just become better at that prowess. So that's when I started on my quest to learn how to just shoot better. It was just with training. First, it was with my issued pistol, and then I started doing courses, and then I started doing courses with the 870, which is what we are issued. And then just through the internet blowing up a lot more, a few years after that, I got on Gun Nuts and met a whole bunch of people and started talking about different competitions and stuff like that. Got involved with, Dave, are we allowed to say who we shoot with? Or do they like to be left out of things?
Don't mention last names, just first names is fine.
Oh, I was going to say, am I allowed to say the ORA?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Oh, okay. And so I got hooked up with some people in the ORA and then started to shoot CQB, which was great for me because we were transitioning to C8s. And, I had my own. And, doing pistol and the C8 component, or the civilian AR, if we're going to call it that, just made me a lot better. And I just started to notice when I was doing my requals every year, I was more and more comfortable. I was more and more confident, and I was becoming a better shooter. My fundamentals were a lot better as well. And my scoring and my groupings at competitions, even though there's not a lot of stress induced, were just a lot better. And just through the years, also the instructors that were getting to know me, because you see the same ones over and over again every year, were saying, you've grown exponentially. And seeking ORA and CQB, I mean, that's my therapy every summer. I look forward to that all the time. I'm not a hunter personally. I've just never gotten around to doing anything like that. I still take a lot of courses whenever I can. A lot of them are generally pistol related because that is, for us in law enforcement, that's our primary, as opposed to in the military where your primary is your rifle.
Yeah.
And so how is this affecting me personally as a person? I'm angry because, as everybody said before, the way it's been done, that's not appropriate. That's not the way we are supposed to do things here, where we're supposed to be democratic and stuff. We can go down that rabbit hole. I'm sure a lot of people have before. What has it done for me as a police officer? It's actually reduced the amount of time I've been able to go and practice outside on my own time with my own ammunition. And our training at work, because of COVID and some other things as well, we can't always get in the training that we require. And that just makes me feel, I don't know, it makes me feel like I'm getting behind the curve, so to speak.
That's interesting that I was just watching Joe Rogan's podcast, and he had Jocko on and he had Colia Noir, and they mentioned the same thing, that police are generally not trained enough, and that a lot of them go out and do training on their private time to try to get up to where they feel comfortable with firearms manipulation and being able to handle
that's exactly
extreme situation, right?
Yeah, a lot of it even starts with people that they may not even be a firearms person, but they might be a person that's physical. So you maintain your fitness throughout your career as best as you can.
Yeah.
A lot of people get into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. They get into different martial arts. When you get older and things really start to hurt because of all the gear you carry, some people get into yoga, stuff like that, and that just makes you a better person for later on. Am I confident in a gunfight? Yeah, sure I am. Could I be better? Absolutely. Everybody can be better.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. How many, for people who don't know, when you do your quals once a year, how often do you do your requalifications? Which weapons do you use, and how many? What does it involve? How many rounds are fired? What sort of course of fire do you have for that?
Sorry, which platforms do I use?
Yes. Weapons. Which weapons do you use? You're not carrying them for fun.
No, I know. It's I just hate that term because it gets masked around a lot in the civilian world. But as with most services, we carry the Glock pistol, And then on top of that, we have 870s, and they're shorties. They're fantastic. And then we also have 870s that have been converted to less lethal, and they are marked as such. And the two different types of 870s that we have never, ever intermingle. They're never shared in the same car. They're never shared in the same locker room. And the ammunition is never, ever mixed. And people that carry them, partners don't carry one of each. And that's just the way it is. And then we have tasers for those that are issued. In my office, I don't have a taser. I just not high enough on the list to get one. And then of course we have the C8, the Colt Canada C8. And then as far as qualifications, you know, when you first get on, you're sent to Ontario Police College, or you start at your own home college, which with Toronto, you're there for 2 weeks. Then you're sent away for 3 months. You come back and you do another 10 weeks of training before you even hit the road. Then you go to your division. You do another 10 weeks training at the division. And then on top of that, you round out the rest of your probation. So with us, it's almost a year's worth of training. And all through that time, when you're in the schooling component, it's a constant use of force and constant firearms, as well as driving and things like that as well. It's a high round count. And then every year you have your qualification, and there's the provincial qualification that is put out. I don't have it handy. It's available online. You can look it up. It's a public document. I've been to a couple civilian classes where they actually use that as a standard. And I mean, it's not easy. And also with C8, you can, if you're lucky, you can do it every 6 months. But that's also just generally a yearly requal. Same with the shotguns. And if you're lucky, you can sometimes squeeze in twice a year, depending on where your birthday falls and depending on where there might be a spot that's open or something like that. So there's been years where I've done 2 quals back to back just because of, I don't know, something happened, and I'm happy to go. So
Yeah, hey, why not?
Yeah,
Range time.
and it's a half day of shooting. It's done on the same day that we do all our use of force training as well. So with that shooting, we're also doing our non-weaponized use of force, like hand-to-hand and self-defense and stuff like that. And then we intermingle that with scenarios with live fire, because we now have shoot houses that are set up in our specific range at our college. And then we also do scenario training, where sometimes we use simunitions and things like that. So, and that's those are self-correcting problems. If your leg is out too far, or your arm, it really sucks getting hit in the armpit or in the inner thigh. So I hope that answers. Long story, but that's what we got.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So when you're qualifying with a pistol, how many rounds would you put down range in the day to do your qualification? Roughly.
So what they will generally do, which is no secret anymore, is when you show up and you receive your firearm back from the firearms officers there, you'll have your 3 mags that are full. So they're prohib, right? So they're 15 rounds. And you will go to the line and you'll do a warm-up just with those 15 street rounds that we have. And they'll come up with something just to shoot cold bore, just to get you going, get you warming up. Sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's hard, depending on who the instructor is. We have a lot of really switched on instructors, so we're lucky in that respect. And then on top of that, the provincial requal, to tell you the truth, I can't tell you what the round count is, the actual specific requal, but then the practicing up to it, and then some of the fun shooting afterwards, because we've gotten into shooting steel lately, as well as reactive targets and stuff like that. Yeah, it's pretty slick.
That's cool.
They spent some coin on some frangible ammunition, and it's nice to hear that ping, right? So that you have that reactive target. It'll either drop and it'll bounce back up. So I think in that day we might be 500 to 600 rounds. So
okay.
And it's 40 cal, and it's full power too. So I'm not gonna lie, as you get older, your wrist and your elbow, it kind of sucks.
That's a decent workout for a full day. Like that many shots out of a 40, And I mean, it
Yeah.
sounds like the nice thing about, again, shooting steel is you don't know how fast you shoot. You can shoot something until you hear that steel pinging back to you. It was one of the early indicators to me when I started shooting 3-gun, that like, oh, I can go faster because I can hear the steel ringing back to me. I don't need to like visually verify that I'm hitting that paper target, right?
Yeah, and the steel that we do shoot, it's small, right? So it's almost like, I'd say it's smaller than a B zone on an IPSC target. And depending on the distance away, because that way when you do hear the ping and it does go down properly, you at least know you're hitting somewhat is supposed to be center mass. So anything bigger than that, you're not doing yourself justice, and neither is the instructor. Because if you shoot one that's the size of a dishwasher, and it pings, and all you're doing is you're just hitting like the corner, that's not doing a whole heck of a lot for you.
That's cool. What kind of ranges would you be shooting? Distances.
At distances, I think the provincial recoil, we shoot as far back as 25 meters.
Okay.
So it's a fair bit. It was always put to me by the older instructors when I got on, if something happens, you should be able to get a proper sight alignment and place shots properly from across the street. If you were in a scenario where that was happening and you had the proper backdrop and there was nobody else, it was just the straight bad guys. So, but unfortunately here in the the urban sprawl, a lot of times that doesn't happen. A lot of them happen, I don't know, within, I'd say, less than 10 meters sometimes.
Yeah, I've done some reading about pistol fights that people have, and that it, like, touching is not uncommon from what I've seen.
Yeah, I'm
very close.
So the ones that I've been involved with on the street, I mean, I won't get into them, but my very first one in 2003, the first action took place just under 4 meters, and then expanded to outside the store and then into an alley. So, and then the shots were a little bit further than that. So, with returning fire.
Yeah. Wow. So if you're just requalifying once a year, essentially, you're just not gonna get that using it constantly, sort of familiarity with the gun. You're not gonna have that muscle memory of doing your draw, engaging, your mag changes, any of that stuff.
And then what I tell people about that is, some people don't think that's enough. I agree with them, but there's also time, there's money, my time I got to put in to go if I want to go every month or something like that. But the other thing as well is, a lot of people they're not firearms people when they get into this job. I work with people that they know the basic nomenclature of the pistol, and that's essentially it. They've never done any training outside of the workplace, and that's just not their thing. I'm not saying they're not switched on. I know they're good coppers when we're out on the street and we're doing things, and I can count on this person. But then again, you've got other people that have taken it upon themselves to go and get the extra training and invest in buying personal firearms that mimic what we have at work. My first Glock was a 40 cal. I still have it because I acquire 40 cal training ammunition, and every now and then I use that just so that I remember the feel. But I've since converted over to 9mm, and hopefully one day we'll do that too.
Yeah,
I know that some cops shoot IPSC with their either with their duty stuff or with stuff that's very close to their duty stuff, so that they don't pick up any habits that won't work on the street, and so that they're training with what they have.
And that's one of the cool things. I've been looking into IPSC for years. I've just never gotten around to getting my black badge. Again, it's just time, because CQB consumed me. It's like my therapy. I loved it. I thought it was just fantastic. And the people that I've met over the years, just everybody says it about their different group. You can join a knitting group and say these people are cream of the crop. But some of the people I've met in the firearms community, whether they're just private citizens or whether they're actual people that work for businesses that support the community, bang on people, man. I know lately there's a lot of anti-police sentiment, even on certain forums, but the circle of people that I've trained with and that I shoot with, cream of the crop. And I do what I can for them whenever they ask for help. whether it's firearms related or they need advice on something or something else like that. But IPSC or anything like that is really good because, yes, you're allowed to use pretty well what you would wear at work.
Yeah, I know a few people that have not done so well on their quals, and one of them was told go start shooting IPSC and come see us again.
Yep.
And they did very well once they started shooting IPSC a bit.
So one of our instructors, I think he's either an IDPA or an IPSC or an ODPL shooter, and that's what we've started to notice in regards to, okay, now we've got pop-up targets, we now are shooting steel, and we're incorporating a lot more lateral forward and backward movement with one hand, as well as a bit of sprinting. Of course, we've got a spotter and a safety that are holding on to us so you don't fall over and shit the bed. But other than that, that's what they're really starting to push on you now, because we're finding that's a lot of what we're engaging now on the streets as it is. So where people are starting to jump out of their cars and they're starting to shoot at us. So
yeah. So the dynamic styles of shooting are helping, and then your guy who shoots as a civvy is bringing that back to the force.
Yep. And which is good. Like if you don't evolve, you become stagnant, right? So
yeah, and given how training sometimes works, it sometimes takes a long time for what you're actually seeing out there to be reflected, through all the bureaucracy back into the training. So that's very cool.
Yeah, it is. I've always thought it would be kind of cool to have something set up downrange where it's, now the technology's there where we have something set up, and while we're engaging targets, there's some sort of robot or something down at the end shooting paintballs back at us. So that would be, I tell you, there'd be a lot of cover versus concealment self-correction there.
A couple of years ago, one of our local police forces was doing force-on-force training, and I knew one of the guys who was on the force, so he got me in. So I brought my paintball gun out.
Yeah.
And many, many lessons were learned, and many, many, many painful bruises were gained. And by the end of the day, because it hurt if you screwed up, everybody got really, really good by the end of the weekends.
Yeah, when we first started, when Columbine happened, and then we were changing the way when we first started using the term active shooter, about how we would go in and what we would do and stuff like that as well. A lot of our scenarios were taking place in the hallways of our colleges, because we had 2 running at the time. And the bad guys were, of course, the instructors, and they had the better simunition platforms that didn't jam. And a lot of them were, MP5s, C8s, just different things like that they would be able to drill you right from down the hall. And again, a lot of it was self-correcting, so that when you go back to your station after and you put your vest back on, it was like a third place ribbon you would get, because you would still have the paintballs marker still on your uniform, because it was a real pain. It was a pain to get out of that nylon we used to wear. So
nice. So what have other cops that you've been talking to, have they been mentioning as well that this is really going to affect their training?
Yeah, I have a lot of police friends within my service as well as other services that are now kind of shaking, scratching their head going, well, this is now prohibited. How can this happen? I didn't really become political until I became a firearms owner. And I only really became really, really political maybe about 8 years ago, I think, where you really start to understand what rights and permissions you do have and what you don't have, what can be taken away, and what is supposed to stand. And a lot of my friends are just as upset. And if I line them all up and we put them all on the show here, you would probably have some expletives and stuff like that, because when we're not working, technically we're always at work 24/7, but when you're at home and you have something that's yours that you've invested time and money in, and then you stand the chance of losing it, or have the opportunity to say turn it in, if that's what you're going to do, that's your right to do. But also say you're only going to get I think we're only going to get like $250 or something like that for an AR. So a lot of angry people. And I have 8 that I've accumulated over the years. Do I need 8? Probably not now, but that's just the way it is. Hey, man, I got a roll pin. Guess I better start a build. So
Yeah, exactly.
Got a spare flash hider, better find a rifle to put it on.
Well, what
Yeah,
are you
yeah.
gonna train with now? Because the ARs would be ideal to train with.
So right now, what this is doing is it's refocusing my training for this year. Andrew has saved CQB to an extent where we are shooting the NSCC competition out of Guelph, and we're doing it with pistol. And it's I'm just refocusing on pistol for now because again, that is my primary. And I have noticed over the last couple of years, even though my scores in CQB have gone up, that's because of me getting really good at the rifle. Anybody can shoot a rifle. I think it's a fantastic platform. Whether it's lever action, pump action, semi-auto, it doesn't matter. Pistol is the baseline. And I started to notice that my scores for pistol were starting to really, really go down. And the first match we had 2 weeks ago, as one of the guy that placed first, he's a friend of mine, RCMP copper that came down from Ottawa to shoot with us. He said, that's not a grouping. That's a pattern. So
Well, I've noticed in CQB that the guys who really, really do well, even some of the older, fatter guys, it's because they get all their pistol hits, right? And when
Yes.
I'm running a range, I'll joke at the start of the day when we put our figure 14s up on the target, I'll joke and I'll say, hey, you can take these home at the end of the day because you're not going to have any hits on them anyway. And end of the day, there'll be like 2 patches on it.
Yeah. Or at the end of the day, I've had it as well where it's been clean and I've never had to, but also for that, what I'm doing is I'm concentrating because of the 2 targets. I'm concentrating on one side only to ensure I get all the proper hits. So I'm slowing down. That's where my pistol shots are going. I may not be scoring high, but I'm scoring proper. So the competition is actually between myself. So for the next couple of matches that Andrew's putting on, I'm actually not I'm going to ask to be scored, but I'm not going to go through all the motions of switching hands and all that other stuff as well. I'm going to go through and shoot it so that I can 100% know where every single bullet is going. So just like I would if I was back at the workplace doing a drill or something like that. So, am I going to win? No. This last match, I finished dead last. Dead last. I joked about on the internet there. If I look behind me, there's nobody behind me. I was last. So, but the scores were really high as well. And then there's people that are also shooting optic, and I'm just not there yet. I want to get my iron game back up. So
now, were they doing classes for that match where you've got irons and optic?
Yeah. So you signed up ahead of time and said what you were doing, or if you were there and you happened to change what it was you were doing. A lot of really nice firearms out there. Seen some people come out with some new stuff, and of course now the red dot or the optic is the thing now. And I know there's services in the United States where the frontline cop, that's what they're issued because it's actually, once you train into it, it's actually easier for hits. There's specialty units here in Canada that have them. Can't really rhyme who the heck they are, but I don't think you'll see that anytime soon here in Canada for a frontline person. But I've shot with them. There is a little bit of, you got to know height over bore and your offset and stuff like that. And sometimes it's hard to find where your dot is. But once you're dialed in and you understand all those fundamentals, it's like shooting a laser beam. So
yeah. Do you guys have dots on your C8s? You guys must have dots on those. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. We have comp M4s, and that's the standard aim point. And I know years ago we had, through our different teams, we had varying optics. But I now know that a lot of those have been put aside. We're either using aim point only for the patrol ones in the cars, and then the ones that are being swapped to the MRR Colt Canada. I've seen some low power variable optics from Loopold, and I believe there's also a Trijicon that's out there as well that's being tested.
Oh,
I would just go with a red dot. Just I shoot red dot limited with 3-gun, and that's good. I make hits out to 300-400 yards with that thing. As long as you got the
Yeah.
training with it, it's faster. It's way simpler. With something like a Comp M4, turn it on, leave it on for what, 5 years, 6 years? Like the battery life on those things is insane.
Yeah, I mean, I went down the rabbit hole once everybody started saying, oh, get these scopes for your rifle for CQB and stuff. I'm like, oh yeah, these are great. I bought a few a bunch of scopes, and the last couple of years, I was using them, but I mean, I wasn't really using the magnification. It was more the reticle.
Yeah.
So now I've got a bunch. I've got a few like Steiners and loopholes and stuff. I haven't even touched.
Stuff.
Like they're just sitting in the box. So, and I got
The highest score I ever shot in CQB, I shot with a Holosun red dot.
Yeah.
It was the best score I ever shot. It was great. And second best was with a Leopold Mark AR. I was just slightly under that. It worked really well. If the light was a little lower, I would have liked to have had the red dot though.
Yeah. Holosun, of course, nobody liked them when they first came out a few years ago. But I mean, I've heard from other people now in the industry that Holosun made their emitters or made their LEDs or something with that they provided to other companies. So, and then just some of the stuff that they're releasing now, like that one, I don't know what it is, but it's really small and it looks like an EOTech. Yeah, that, and you can now get those sized optics. You can change the reticle in them. So,
oh, that's cool. I didn't know that. Ooh.
And even now they're their lasers, which we don't use much anyway. Their lasers are being used by a lot of people down in the States now with, I frequent ARFCOM and a lot of great success. So
yeah, those designators, especially on the low price end.
Yeah, and just the fact that they're being made, I guess, offshore brings it to a price point where the everyday layman or layperson can purchase them and try them out.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I would love night vision. Ain't gonna happen. So, maybe with all the optics I got to sell, I probably could get something.
And the ARs you sell back to the government, your night vision budget will be like way through the roof.
I'm not selling my ARs. We're fighting this tooth. We're fighting right to the end, and after.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think you were feeling pretty positive about winning the lawsuit. And the amount of energy and everything I'm seeing around it. It's not just going to go away. It isn't going to be a well, they passed the law and everybody just goes away and doesn't say anything. This is going to be a big thing.
And I'm not one to I'm only on Facebook. I'm not a big social media person. I don't understand Twitter and all these other things. I don't know. I feel for all the parents that are in the same situation as me, as having a kid at home. TikTok is driving me crazy, and stuff like that. But just what I see is being said about the firearms community and about these, a rifle that is being made to kill the most amount of people possible in the lowest amount of time. Well, when we were talking offline, Dave, the other week, I'm like, I'm not even aware, other than some criminal acts or some things that may not have hit the media, where an AR style rifle was used. But I guess you had found one. But other than that, man, I'm worried about the AKs. I'm worried about the Tech 9s that we're finding on the street, as well as the Mac 10s and the Mac 11s. They're still out there. So,
how is that possible? They've been prohibited since the 90s.
I can tell you, not publicly. There's some things I just can't say. Like I've got no problem saying who I work for, what I do, and stuff like that as well. But there's certain things that I can't say.
That was a joke implying
that I know.
Law, so that's how they're getting them.
They don't.
It pisses me off every time I see one of the photoshops from TPS or one of the other police services. It's like, I can't own that. I want one of those.
Yeah.
Criminals can own them. That is not cool.
Yeah, I see those every now and then, and there's like a nice, really Benelli M4 or something in there. I'm like, man, I've been saving up for one of those, like, because I want one by the time I'm 50. But I'm happy with my 870s. But yeah, it's like, oh man, this guy was able to go off and shoot that thing off. Lucky bugger. So
in the streets too. I mean, the range on every corner. We don't get to do that. I got to drive all the way to my range. I can't just go down to my local street corner. It sucks. Being law-abiding It's a lot of work.
But it's in our fabric, right? You know,
Oh,
the
yeah,
three of us talking right now. That's the way we are. You know, we hold ourselves to a higher standard. You know, they've put all these restrictions on firearms and stuff, and we willingly take them as gospel so that we can have the firearms, go hunting, do sport shooting and stuff like that as well. And we take it and we take it and we take it. But I mean, there's always an end game, right? So
I have a guy that I know, and he was ex-military officer. When he got out of the forces, he bought himself an AR-15. At the time they were unrestricted, he hunted with it, shot it wherever. When they restricted it, he said, "No problem, I'm a good guy." He's going to register it. And I was talking to him a couple weeks ago, and he said, "You know what?" He said, "Why the hell did I bother? I
yeah,
followed all the rules. I did everything that they said I had to do, and now I'm being punished because I did what I thought was the right thing at the time." And I was talking to him, and I'm like, "Would you register it again?" He said, "Knowing what I know now, absolutely not. I would not register that gun." And you know, like I said, this is an old dude. He's like 75, served his country for decades upon decades, law-abiding guy, has families, has a job, has a business, and now he's thinking, why did I bother obeying the law? And that
and
right there tells me that it's a bad law that it does that to people.
and it's unfortunate when you put good people, good Canadians into that position and force them to have that mindset, and we shouldn't. So, I mean, I can go off on a ramble and I can get pissed off and I can say a lot of different things as well. But, you know, what kind of makes me angry, I mean, even what I do for work, but just as a civilian, okay, well, it's fine that we ban all of these things and they want this gun control. Then why are you as a politician standing with bodyguards having those firearms that I cannot have? Is your life better than mine? No, it's not.
No.
So I know they have access to stuff that we as civilians will never have unless you have the proper licensing for it or you work in an environment that allows you to have it. But, you know, when you start looking at things like home protection and self-protection, something in the books that says you can't use a firearm. So, and if something was happening in your house and you didn't use a firearm and you had access to it, or, you know, a weapon of opportunity or something like that to protect your family, I mean, I think you've just shit the bed as a father or as a parent or something like that. So I look at it as self-protection as well. Things aren't easy nowadays. You know, in your neighborhoods, I mean, I know who some of the bad guys are in where I live. A lot of other people, you know, are pretty flighty and have no idea what's going on. So I don't know. I mean, we could have more and more stuff like the Chaz or the Chop or whatever they call it. And that could happen here in Canada. And I can actually see it happening. And then I can see disorder in the streets. I can see things going on where the police are going to be overwhelmed. And, you know, my house is left unattended with my family being here. And most of who's in my house knows how to use, because we've gone out shooting and stuff like that as well. Mm-hmm. But if I'm at work protecting somebody else's family and, you know, the cops out here where I live, they can't get to where my family is. You know, they're going to take things into their own hands and they're going to repel that attacker, that active attacker. So when someone's breaking into your house, they're there to commit a criminal act. They're not there to deliver that Amazon package that someone stole off your porch 2 weeks ago. So.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, you can defend yourself with a firearm in Canada. It's just you can't have it with you to defend yourself until you're attacked, which is the weird thing. I have a buddy in the States, and he has a daughter that goes to a university in Ontario, and the daughter is being stalked by someone that they are very, very concerned with. And he gave me a call and just said, "Hey, man, I want to get a carry permit for my daughter. What do I need to do in Canada?" I said, "You can't." So,
well, we can get you the bag to carry it in, but that's about it. Here's some Skittles.
Yeah. Get a holster. You could buy the holster.
Absolutely.
That's as far as you get.
I'm back and forth on. I would support concealed carry, and I think the standard of care and the level of training, if it was brought here into Canada and it was allowed, I think it would be a lot higher than what would be down in some of the states. I think that would be something that would be, again, highly regulated, highly controlled. But I think the training that would go into it would actually be a bonus. And again, we would be held to a higher standard. And like when I've carried off duty or when I've carried in plain clothes and stuff like that, it's cool to watch all these videos, these holsters that they have that are made out of Kydex that people carry them at 3 o'clock or Kidney or, places like that. It's actually not very comfortable. And it's not a grandiose thing that you have once you get into it. Is it something you can get used to? Absolutely it is. But I think the training with it that would come afterwards, I think would be stellar and world class if it was brought here in Canada. And it would open up a market to a whole new business style, and it would employ people.
Yeah.
I've got some buddies down in the States that carry, and again, plainclothes cops, friends and stuff. And the ones I've talked to down in the States who carry as civilians, they're not screwing around. Like, it's not this Wild West idea that the media somehow has, that you're just carrying a gun because you're going to go get in a gunfight. Like, all of these people that I know, they're very, very serious about it. And they're very aware that, if I make a mistake, I'm going to jail.
And then again, it's that higher standard of care where when you listen to people like Colion Noir and some of these other people as well that I follow, it's like, well, I know I have this on me. Getting into this scenario and escalating it to a point where I've induced the jeopardy, like what we would call it here is officer-induced jeopardy, where the use of force escalated beyond where it should have been. You would think twice. You know what? I'm not going to get into this road rage incident. I'm going to get off the highway. I'm just going to get away from this guy altogether. So stuff like that.
Yeah, and I've heard that from other people. It's not that you're looking to get into a fight, but if you absolutely have to, you can get yourself out, but you're going to do everything you can to not have to do it.
I have some friends that are, I should have listened to them all those years ago. I joined karate, over 30 years ago, and I went through the varying belt systems and stuff like that as well. And I should have listened. I got a few that are joined judo instead because it was more applicable to where they lived. And then as well as I've got friends that are quite good at the varying jiu-jitsu styles. And I know that if something ever happened when we were out, I wouldn't even have to do anything. Like, these guys could tear you up into a pretzel unless they meet somebody that is of a higher training than them, which a lot of times you don't meet that person.
Yeah,
on
it's
the street.
pretty unlikely.
You meet that person in the ring, right, when you're matched up together. But then they're going to say, well, I know I can go out and I can screw people up and I can put them in a Kimura, or I can do, a guillotine, or, I can choke the person out. But do they? No. So it's just nice to know that when you're out with your family, you have that ability to do that.
Yeah. Well, again, same with the firearms, right? People that know what they can do, they're not looking for trouble.
Exactly. So, look at our safes. Look at all the things that we go through in order to render our firearms safe and to ensure that nobody gets their hands on them that shouldn't have them and stuff like that. A lot of us, we go above and beyond, right? So that's just the way it is. And it becomes habit. So my OCD makes me do things a certain way. And if I don't do it, I don't get tics or anything like that, but it's like, okay, I got to go down and redo everything. I got to make sure shit's done a certain way, right? So
I'm the same way. Did I remember to lock the safe before I left the room tonight? I better go back down and check it.
Like my work pistol, when I put it into the lockbox, it always has to be put in. Well, obviously you put it in chamber facing up, so you lay it down on the left side. But then I'll think, oh, did I do that? Because that's how I'm supposed to grab it. And then, like, say there was an emergency, I know that that's the way it is, and I get in there right away, kind of thing. But yeah, just stupid idiosyncrasies like that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Nice. All right.
Who's going to ask the questions about confiscation?
You gonna come kick people's doors in, Craig, when they ban the guns? You personally come to my house, boot my door in?
Someone is.
No, they're not. Someone gonna ask why?
Why?
Logistically, it's impossible. So right now, in order to seize a firearm where it is turned over through an amnesty, or a lot of times what it is we have an old Nona, her husband has died years ago, and then the family through the estate finds his old hunting guns and stuff like that as well. So when we collect those, we will either say you can hold on to them even though you don't have the proper licensing, or give them to somebody in your family that does. But through the estate, you can sell those firearms to somebody that can use them rather than having them destroyed, and you can put some money in your pocket. We try to explain that to people as well, because that is their legal right. And that was something that was done through a coworker of mine. He passed away of cancer, and his wife had a firearm that belonged to him. And I mean, just because it was him, I mean, I bought it, right? So I bought it through the estate. But on top of that, when we seize one firearm, the amount of paperwork that goes into what needs to be done to seize it, provide documentation to the person that we seized it from, as well as what we need for our Property and Evidence Bureau, the things that we have to do to trace serial numbers and things like that as well ahead of time. I mean, even just putting the boxes together, because no box comes put together. I think these boxes come from IKEA. And these boxes, no matter how many times you put them together, I don't know, man, there's some sort of witchcraft with these things. They never stay where they're supposed to. And so to do one, it'll take one cop 1 hour. So during the gun amnesty, I wasn't where I was right now, but my partner was working during it. It was hundreds of hours of, not saying wasted police work, because it was, it's a lawful thing that people were doing. They're turning them in voluntarily, but it's going to take a lot. So now you have to say, well, who's going to do it? Well, they're not going to be taking the cops off the street, because now we're going to be defunded, or money's going to be taken away because the money could be put somewhere else, maybe better used. That's another topic, I would suppose. Okay, well then maybe we have to train some civilians up that work with us. Well, we can't really pull a lot of our civilians out because they're doing functional jobs that we require to have business continuity of the police department every single day. Okay, well, what about some of our new special constables that we've hired? Well, we could hire a class of, say, 50 in order to assist with this and then redeploy them afterwards. But you still need the civilian clerks to do the property and the paperwork. For one, the storage as well. Where are we going to store all these? Like literally, I would assume
stacks and
millions of guns. I think.
Hundreds of thousands. I mean, like there's parts of this that'll be difficult. Like I would imagine that for a buyback, they'll have to bring them in centrally. The buyback bit will be hard because I'm not sure how they're going to figure out value and that kind of thing.
So then you also have to, okay, so say we're going to do that. So we're going to do the buyback, or it's the same model as somebody turning their stuff in. You have to have somewhere central for people to go and do this. Mm-hmm. Okay, so in Toronto, we're going to do this. The wages, the storage, the time, the energy, the paperwork, all of that stuff, logistically, impossible.
I mean, just throw money at it. I mean, because those are problems until you throw a lot of money at them, and then they're not problems anymore. If the government's willing to run up the deficit to $1 trillion this year, and I don't think, and I don't think, like, we're even in more debt now when that guy was voted in than beforehand, because apparently it was supposed to budget itself or balance itself. Yeah. I mean, like if the government throws like billions at relatively small issues, I think right now they're gonna give students $1,000 for volunteer work and that kind of thing. And he's just throwing money away like silly business. I don't think this is gonna get in the way. And they've spent silly money on crappy gun laws before, and it hasn't stopped them in the past. So if the only problem is money, they'll just borrow more. And then, okay, so that happens. But then what about the people that don't turn their stuff in and our grandfathering time disappears and they want to start targeting people? Well, who's going to do all that? It's not going to be the municipal police services that are doing it, especially the small ones. Provincially, maybe, I guess, if they have the manpower to do it. Federally, RCMP ain't doing too great right now. So this is a federal problem. I don't see this as a municipal or provincial problem. This is something that's been brought in by the federal government, and it's going to be up to them to figure out how they're going to enforce it. Yeah. They could let the provincial police forces or municipal police forces to let know, hey, this guy, we know he's got this firearm. It's now prohibited. He didn't turn it in. We need you to go knock on his door and figure out where it is. He's violated a law. I mean, that's possible, and that's after pulling out everyone who handed theirs in because they wanted the buyback cash, right? Like for the registered ones, I would imagine the compliance rates will be high because there's just no hiding it. For the non-registered ones, that's going to take decades and decades. Yeah.
And you'll find those out down the road when there's a death or
Yep.
something happens
fire.
later on.
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah.
So they're going to try and get somebody to come to your door. Can't come in without a warrant. And to type that warrant up and to get all these warrants, you're going to have to get judges or JPs on your side, which generally, as long as a warrant is deemed lawful on its face and there are no issues with it, the warrant will be issued. But they're going to order, they're going to make up all the tens of thousands of warrants against Canadians.
Yep.
Give me a break, man.
Yep.
It's going to be High River all over again.
With the non-registered ones, are they just like literally? How do you sort that out? I mean, there's still
I don't think they will.
thousands and thousands of FN FALs out there, and AKs, and all sorts of and AR-15s.
I think they're just gonna go on the honor system for those because it's just too hard to do by paperwork.
And then, of course, because we're Canadians and we do conduct ourselves in a higher standard, there will be people that will come forward and provide their the non-restricted ones that have become prohibited. But if they don't, again, it's going to be something 40 years from now where I've died and my kids now find they finally find the key to my my locker or my safe, and then they find these rifles in there and they've deemed well, let's get rid of them, let's make some money on them. That's when they'll start finding things like that. So or if your neighbor calls on you or something like that. So
there's a fire, a heart attack, or something. Somebody shows up and sees something
flood.
They should.
That happens as well too. A lot of it is through medical. I've been to a lot of older European homes where the older residents there have there's been a medical issue, and they have their non-restricted Frankie shotgun out. Legally displayed in a cabinet or something like that, and that's how people are going to find out is through those means as well. So
you see that over in England a lot, where some guy dies and you find out that he had 500 machine guns in his basement for the last 60 years, or he had a tank under his house, like that German guy a little while ago.
Or
a tank.
We're still finding unexploded ordnance in the city of Toronto from way back when Toronto had what did we make down in Long Branch? Is it the Sten or the Sterling or something like that? My grandmother did that before she was a clerk.
Sterling, I think it was Stens and the Lee as well.
Yeah, so my grandmother did that, and which is why my family, that side of the family, ended up settling in Etobicoke, because they lived down there. But she also got, after that, she was actually sent to Camp X. She was a typist there. So, yeah, she's got she had some pretty cool stories about being up there with Ian Fleming and things like that. So,
that's cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I think it's we're a bit too early to say. We don't know what's going to happen right now. We're all just sitting on safes full of cool, fun guns that we can't do any competitions with or anything right now. And
I think something's going to happen
in the
where
next 2 years.
Yeah, I think it's the votes. We got to get people out to vote and understand what they're voting for, understand what why these laws are not proper, and then explain to them, well, they could come for you later on. So, I know I've talked to during my time when I was in the highway patrol for a while, and I've also done traffic work. There are smaller groups that are out there that are pushing for governors in cars. Is that an unreasonable expectation? Maybe not. It'll slow people down and maybe reduce the amount of injuries and fatalities in car accidents and stuff like that. But car accidents are always going to happen regardless. So that's the same thing with taking firearms away from legal owners. You may reduce firearms on the street that are taken as a result of theft or a break-in, which the percentage is very small, but we're still going to have firearms coming up over the border and our weed going down there. So,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Possible to stop. Awesome. Well, thanks again for coming on and kind of giving us a perspective from the front lines on the streets.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. Thanks, Dave. And
All right.
I don't know, if people got questions, they want to reach out afterwards, invite me back, and I can answer some specific questions. And hey, we'll take it from there.
Definitely. Thanks for coming on.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Craig.
Appreciate
We'll
it,
talk
guys.
soon.
Thank you.
All right. Take care, brother. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks again to Craig for coming on and giving us that perspective of what it's like to be on the police on the front lines and his opinion on these firearms laws. Listener feedback. So just on the Facebook version here, now you've been kind of jumping in and grabbing these as we're going along. There was one early on that I'm just not sure if I understand fully. It said, just FYI for any civilians with their CGD controlled goods license, they're refusing to renew any licenses for anyone that's now in possession of a prohibited firearm. They give you 10 days to turn in all your controlled goods, firearms, devices for destruction or deactivation, no compensation. Make sure to sell or transfer before your license is up for renewal or you'll lose them.
So that would be people with grenade launchers like M203s is my understanding on that one, because you have to have that controlled goods license in order to have it. So no license, no gun, no launcher, and guess what? They won't cover them. So you're done.
I mean, they're prohibited anyways now, so they're
prohibited by turn it in now. Not wait for the government to give you maybe compensation down the road. It's give us your stuff is my understanding.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Just spend thousands of dollars on an actual genuine M203. Bye-bye.
Huh. That's interesting. I hadn't heard that.
I get that right, Jamie?
Yeah, anyways, let us know.
Yeah, let us know in the comments there.
Yep. Kurt says, check out Dr. Deals. Just picked up 7.62x39 LAR mags for $19 a mag. 4 mags of shipping was $100. Yeah, that is a very good price for LAR mags, 7.62x39. Those are a little bit harder to find. What fits those? I guess any of your rifles in 7.62x39. That Scorpio SKS-15. XCR is a pro hip now.
Mag will still fit it.
True, it will. Yep.
Yeah.
And those are non-registered as well, those XCRs. Finally, let's get on to listener feedback. Listener feedback is sponsored by Armory DC Gunsmith. Armory DC Gunsmith is a full-service gunsmith who specializes in firearms refinishing. He offers hot bluing, parkerizing, and Cerakote finishes, as well as wood refinishing. Check out his online inventory of new and used guns, firearms, accessories, optics, and more at dcgunsmith.ca. And I don't believe we have any listener feedback this week. But if you'd like to send an email in, just forward that email to slamfireradio@gmail.com. We'll probably read it on the air. I think we read pretty much everything.
Even the incoherent ones.
We try to read them. The dickhead thing we'll do is we'll read it exactly as it's written, and it'll sound really terrible. We won't reinterpret it at all. So if you've got
paid enough to grammar check,
and whatever weird spell correction your phone has recommended, we'll go with that. We'll go with whatever it told us to.
Yeah, send in your conspiracy theories, whatever crazy stuff you got. We'll read it online.
Exactly.
Comments about Adriel. Maybe you're curious about how Adriel gets his head just that shiny. Let's hear some theories. Throw them out. Check that out. Almost see myself in there.
Oh, fantastic. Oh, man, my camera's really hating this green screen. It's just,
Yeah,
it doesn't know what to do.
You look seriously sunburned right now. Unless you actually are sunburned.
I thought, for as many years as I've been alive, I always sunburn when the first weekend I go outside for the whole weekend. And I avoided it last weekend because I put sunblock on. And this is the first time it only took however many decades for me to figure that out, that I should put sunblock on because I'm pasty white. I can't hear you there.
I'm probably muted. Yeah, your very, very white sunblock is your friend. I sunblock when I'm at the range, and that's about it, because when I first started doing service rifle running the matches, I ran the butts and I was facing into the sun for, the first 5 hours, and then the sun was behind me. As the worst sunburn I've ever had, and it was one of those lovely ones where it's just around your neck and your face and your nose. It was awful. And then I had to come back the next day and run the range again. So I looked like a mummy. I was very well protected the next day.
I think the worst ones to get are uniquely like bald people problems. Like getting this one on the back of your head is awful. I'm just holding up a hat showing like the D at the back here, because that one looks real stupid. Like if you're a golfer and you get like the weird ankle burn, like that's not a big deal. Just wear some socks that go up past it, and you won't see that like that definitive mark. What are you supposed to wear to hide this? A hat, I guess. You got to wear a hat everywhere, even inside. You're at work, and you're like, yeah, just just doing your work, doing your thing. Don't mind me.
Ordering a hat for no reason whatsoever.
I'm wearing a hat at my office job. Yep. Patreon supporters, if you want to help out with the show, go over to patreon.com/slamfireradio or check out our website and click through and go buy something from Cabela's. That works too. Shout outs, Dave.
Just everybody that dropped in. I see that a couple of my Facebook friends have shared it on my page, and I see Joe and Lyle have dropped in. So thanks, guys. Appreciate you listening.
Awesome. For myself, the IATs that helped me put on those events on Saturday, Sunday, thank you very much. It's a lot of work, and appreciate those guys for coming out and helping out. And then, just the rest of the Maple Seed crew just for helping out with the other events that we're scheduling for later in the year. It's going to be a good year. We have lots to do.
Yeah, nice. Oh, I guess we should throw out a special thanks to our friend Craig Coleman for dropping by as well. Just mention him again. Thank you so much, Craig. That was awesome.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for coming on. Finally, check out the CCFR. Go join them. Find us on Gun Owners of Canada. Like us on Facebook, and reach out to your city councillor now to talk about municipal handgun bans, because Trudeau promised to put something in there. Maybe COVID has got him distracted. Probably not. Probably just waiting for another tragedy that would not have been stopped by this at all to stand on and proclaim how he's going to fix everything with legislation that will do nothing. So go talk to your councillors about this.
Get a bunch of your local gun owners together and then go talk to your counselors. It's more powerful if 50 of you show up or have signatures on something and then it's just you. Yeah.
Talk to them, write your letters, do your meetings, do all that kind of stuff. And we'll see you next week.
See you next week, guys.
So if you have any comments or questions for the show, please send an email to slamfireradio@gmail.com. Now go grab a gun and shoot something.
When the talking is over, it's time to get a gun.